Namaste and Shukrana to Sahib. Jai Guruji and welcome back to all our esteemed listeners. Ek baar fir, we are here together to immerse ourselves in a conversation that reminds us of Sahib's grace, his ways and his wisdom. Our goal is to connect Sangat even more to Guruji through these conversations. Now, how is this different from a satsang is what some of you may be wondering. Well, it is a satsang, but we're not just narrating it, we are actually conversing about it with each other. We want to talk not just about the experience, but also the learnings that come from it and follow it up with questions as they arise in our minds, which may help us get more clarity and make us more spiritually satiated, hence the concept of Roohani JustuJu. So with that in mind, our guest for today is a celebrated artist, an author to many wonderful books, and most importantly, a Pyari Guru Sangat, who I've personally seen being transformed by his grace. Warm welcome to you, Anita, Kumar, Auntie. Thank you so much for being part of this initiative.
Thank you so much, Aarti, for having me. It's such a pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise, Auntie. So, in the spirit of being focused on Sahib and just being hungry to learn more, I think from where I want to start is by getting a rundown of your life pre and post Guruji, and what have been your highest and lowest moments, and then we'll get into some of the key topics through the course of your journey.
Sure.
Describe to us, what was your life pre-Guruji and how's it ever since Guruji came into your life or Guruji brought you into his fold?
So I would like to start from the beginning, which is I was born and bred in England, in Manchester, in a family that was not ritualistically inclined. It was more about the conduct. The ideologies were very simple. The philosophies was one must help those in need, never do harm to others. And we used to light a diya in front of many gods just in case. My mother had Ram, Sita, Shivji, and being, unexposed in England, we thought this is it. We are merely supposed to light a candle, and that to a tea light candle before going to school. So that was basically our religious beliefs and following, which was very, very simple. But because I was born with severe health issues, which really dictated my life and defined my life in many ways, for instance, having a hole in the heart, having crippling asthma, where I wasn't kind of permitted to participate in school sports activities, and then having eczema, which was primarily on the face and neck, which meant I was very self-conscious. And to top it all, I was the only colored girl back then in a white school. So the challenges were not just health, but psychological issues also, where I was not completely embraced by the white community because I was standing out like a sore thumb.
You were not one of them.
Yeah, I wasn't really one of them, never, because, the conversations they had were something I was not maybe accustomed to or exposed to. Mm-hmm. But there was one thing in me that led me to believe that my calling was slightly higher than that, because I was always grappling with life's existence, reading books at the age of 9 on Buddha, and walking in my father's palatial gardens in England, countryside, and gazing up at the sky and asking God if he's really there, I would love to meet him one day. And I would say things like, in my British head, I would love to have a cup of tea with you. So all this was happening in my
Here we are.
9-year-old. Yes, exactly. So cheers to that.
Yes.
So God was always there. He's a primordial being in our hearts, right? He's always there. And but it was just a matter of meeting him one day. So
Wow.
that is how my beginning was. I was seeking, even as a child, asking God that I knew I was different. Let's put it that way. I was different. I didn't feel I was special. I was just different because my thought process was very deep. I was very intense as a child, did not play with dolls. Instead, I would read. I was a loner. I would paint. I would write, listen to poetry, write poetry, listen to Hindi music. That's how I learned Hindi.
Wow.
My Hindi was very filmy Hindi. Na jane mama khana kya banayenge aaj. So it was very, because that was the only exposure I had to the Hindi language. So
Yeah.
I learned from Hindi movies, which my father used to get every Sunday. We used to have the VCR back then.
Yes. Yes.
And I used to look forward to watching the movies. I was very inclined towards India, strangely again. I was inclined towards India. I was inclined towards the language. I was inclined towards God. I was always inclined towards God. So I leaned towards him as a child, but never got you could say, the navigation, the direction. I just knew that there is someone up there who has to be there to look out for us. That life has to be more than going to school, coming back, having dinner with family, having a glass of wine with dad. Used to open a bottle of wine, God bless him. Being in England, it was part of the culture. At the age of 13, I was exposed to a lot. At the age of 18, 17, I passed my driving test. And my dad decided I'm going to be driving his Rolls Royce back and forth where he didn't want to drink drive. So I would be the driver. So I was a chauffeur. And wow. I experienced a lot of course, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I was exposed to a lot of luxury and extravagance at a very young age.
Right.
And and that didn't mean anything to me. I knew there had to be more. So because God had given me so much abundance, so much exposure, where my eldest brother used to take me to nightclubs every Fridays. And I used to drive his 911 Porsche. Why? Because he didn't want to drive back home because he wanted to drink.
Right.
So I had all that on my fingertips. But then my heart and my soul was searching for more. I was rising above the material acquisitions at a very young age because I felt there had to be more.
Awesome. So tell us about the moment when you were face to face with Sahib. How did that happen? What did you feel? Your initial impressions, and what was the turning point?
So just to rewind a little bit, I got married in 88, came to India finally, the land of my dreams. But the fairy tale wedding soon turned into a nightmare. It had its challenges, thankfully, because those challenges are what have defined my strength and courage today. So nothing happens by chance in your life. It's all for a reason to define and redefine us, right? So there are no mistakes in life. It's all learning and it's all experience. So that was one experience. And since my marriage and my health, so my physical and my emotional health was deteriorating very fast, I started seeking in India, the land of gurus, the land of pandits and astrologers and gurus and all that my heart wanted to seek. So I went from pillar to post looking for answers, all in vain. That lasted from 88 to 97 when I finally met Guruji. And I just then turned my back on him when I was asked to be with him. And I was asked that you look very distressed. Your skin looks like it's erupted badly. Why don't you come to my Guruji? One Sangat asked me, and I refused and refuted. And I said, nobody can really change anyone's destiny. It's all very commercial. I'm not interested. And that was my first response to hearing about Guruji. And I was determined not to meet him. I was very determined, because I'd gone from pillar to post to one guru and to another pandit. And I had decided in my head, I'm never going to go to any guru again. So that was the first response.
And how did that change?
I went to oblige the Sangat. The Sangat landed up in my house, 5 p.m., Thursday evening. I remember the day as if it was yesterday. And she came, she said, non-negotiable, you're coming with me.
Was that Bambi?
Bambi. God bless her. She's the one. And she started speaking dime a dozen in the car about Guruji. Her excitement knew no bounds. She was sharing and outpouring her emotions and her experiences, but it was falling on deaf ears. I was disinterested. And I was gazing out the window. I said, this will be over soon. This whole obliging her. And it was just, I was very, as I said, very indifferent, nonchalant.
Mm-hmm.
And then we walked into Chota Mandir, again, very nonchalantly.
Yeah.
And it was 6 p.m. by now, Thursday evening. So he had very unconventionally sitting on his throne, so to speak, his gaddi. Mm-hmm. And he was unconventionally dressed, unlike a guru, trainers, t-shirts, shorts. Mm-hmm. And I walked in, there was no Sangat, 6 p.m., no Sangat, of course. She had informed him that she would be getting me. And as I bowed my reluctant head, I looked up and my soul just knew this is what I was searching for since childhood. I was looking for God, and this is it. And when the next question was, Chai Prasad Pingi, I said, here's my cup of tea that I asked God at the age of 9. Wow. So it was truly exasperating. It was reassuring that finally I met divinity. I didn't know he's God himself, but I knew he's divine. He's the one. He's my parent. He's going to take care of me. I'm going to be looked after. He'll have my help.
You felt that instantly.
It was instant. It was instant because there was no skepticism. Suddenly all the skepticism and the cynicism just melted away.
Wow.
And I just felt, okay, whatever I've been seeking all my life, whatever I've gone through, thank God I went through whatever I had to go through, because those experiences have led me home to Guruji. So therefore, it was like the experience was far bigger than all my problems that I had encountered till then. And till then, when I say that, I was 31 by this time. Mm-hmm. And I had gone through even a cataract surgery because I had all my life had an overdose of steroids, hydrocortisones. So by the age of 31, I had cataract in both my eyes. So it was, exactly. So I didn't even know what cataract was. Yeah. But I almost went blind because I just saw fog, dense fog, covering my eyes. And I didn't know what it was. How does a 31-year-old know? Because it's very unusual to get cataract at that age. Yeah. So when I went to the to the optician, he confirmed that you need immediate surgery.
So you met Guruji, and as I understand, you still went through.
Interesting. I do believe, and I say it without judgment, and I think it's for all of us, Aarti. I'm sure you can also relate to this. I believe as humans, we are born to expiate our karmas. That's one theory.
Mhm.
So the karmic journey goes hand in hand with your other journey of material journey, your desires, your ambitions, your aspirations in life. Karma is walking with you hand in hand. And you have to go through it. And I do believe today I've learned that if we're calm and we're in acceptance or whatever storm comes our way, then that storm does not harm us. It does not affect us if we do not react. If we just go through it with calmness, knowing that Guruji is with us. So I'll just give an example, and this is a very tangible example.
Mhm.
After Guruji left his body in 2000 and he left his body in 2007, but 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was in Medanta, and I remember this very vividly. The lady who was poking the needle inside me was a trainee. So she wasn't even an expert. She was a trainee. So she was
Right.
poking it in all the wrong places. And it happened a few times. She would do it, and then she would say, "Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the place. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ah.
This is not the place." During that moment, I let go. It was almost Guruji saying, even this body is not yours, Anita. So detach and go through the experience with calmness. Don't react.
Huge, yeah.
This was a huge realization that whatever we're going through is our karmic destiny. So go through it with calmness and accept it with grace, knowing that I'm hand-holding you. I'm with you here. But you need to go through whatever we have sown this life, whatever lifetime, whatever we've sown, we have to reap. But we reap it with Guruji's grace, much less. The intensity, duration, it's been mitigated. It's been hugely mitigated. Instead of feeling the blade of a sword, we feel the prick of a needle. That's how much it reduces the pain. Pain is inevitable. Suffering isn't. Suffering is a choice. So pain is inevitable, right? Suffering is a choice. It's an attitude. Do we want to suffer? The answer, with most Sangat, with most people who are on the path, and I mean who are truly on the path, to say I'm Guruji's disciple, not devotee, disciple, it takes a lot of hard work. We cannot be a disciple by simply attending satsangs, having the Langar Prasad, listening to Gurbani, coming away and saying, I'm a disciple. No, you're a devotee. Most of us are devotees. We are following the path. But when we surrendered and we're living by his teachings, and we're implementing those teachings in our day-to-day living, in our every moment-to-moment living, we're remembering him and loving him. And there's no transactions here that I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. I believe in you, so make sure that you keep my dignity, you do my work, you make sure that I become an artist, make sure I become a renowned writer. No, it cannot be transactory. It cannot be transactional. It has to be unconditional love for your parent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Guruji really wants from us. Because he doesn't want, that's why, therefore, he used to say, Manno Mangone. His plans are better than ours. His gifts are better than our gifts for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been trying to read extensively on karma. And I do understand that this is a very complicated theory, right? And personally speaking, Auntie, if I ever get a chance to ask one question of our Sahib, the only thing that comes to my mind is that, okay, I get what you reap, you shall sow. Perfect sense. I understand. I only hoped that all our karmic debt could have been resolved or settled or whatever we want to call it in the same lifetime. कि ताकि पता तो चले, it's cause and effect reaction. You did this, you got this. When we carry debt from prior lifetimes, when we have no recollection of what we even did, or what are we being penalized for, or what are we being taught. I don't want to use the word penalized because, to your point, there's a lesson in everything we endure. I think the correlation would have been easier if, usi lifetime ka khata account usi lifetime mein khatam ho jata. This carry forward just doesn't compute here.
Is one lifetime enough? I believe, this is my thought process now. And I just believe, Aarti, that even now, as we're living our lives, right? And sometimes even now when my skin erupts and I feel self-conscious and I cannot do anything but scratch and bleed with the eczema, I just feel, okay, when I sit in calmness and say, this karma is just not going away. It's not being settled. Yeah. Is it karma? Is it environmental? Is it genetic? I don't know. But I just feel that in this lifetime, how it's different maybe from the other lifetimes is that this time we have the tools that have been given to us by Guruji to settle the karmic scores for ourselves, whether it's health, relationships. He wants us to raise our vibrational level with the prayers. We do part and he'll do his part, right? Let him play his part and let us do the part. Like you used to say, part karo. So, aap part karo. Aap yaad karo Guruji ko 1 ghanta. Mantra jap karo. Do good deeds. Gupt part, gupt daan, gupt seva, right? Nowadays, it's all not gupt. It's quite the opposite. It's more of, a display of seva, display of, कि मैं हर मंडे जाती हूँ, सेवा करती हूँ बड़े मंदिर या छोटे मंदिर, मैं सेवा कर रही हूँ, मैं सेवा. So that
the mayor receives the seva. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, mayor and seva don't go hand in hand. They're quite an uncomfortable marriage, right? So when we implement his teachings, his philosophies and ideologies, things get better. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Inherently, we are carrying our nature, how we respond to situations, our sensitivity, our emotions. I myself am a very emotional being, and I would say I'm a very sensitive person, but then that's a good thing. If I see it positively, I feel, okay, because I'm so sensitive, I can see the nuances of my own feelings. I can be in touch with other people's feelings also. I can be more empathetic. I can be compassionate. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I do. Every, every emotion can be seen in a positive light. Everything can be seen in a positive light. Karma is a very complex concept. Very complex. But if we just scratch it on the surface and say, okay, so I have these health issues because of my past karmas, but I can certainly mitigate them or resolve them with Guruji's help by implementing his ideologies, his teachings. So it's reassuring for me.
Yeah.
Like just 3 days ago, giving an example. When I got back from Japan, I was covered in eczema from head to toe. I was very disturbed because my face was bleeding. Had you asked me to come out and chat with you, have this conversation a week ago, it was not possible. But then because what Guruji has given me, the tools, I used to sit, do the mantra jap, drink the water that I've done the mantra jap. And within days it cleared. And of course, applied the Amrit also on the skin and have the Langar Prashad as and when. So he's given us the know-how. He's saying, yeah, I've simplified religion. It's a way of life now. You're in pain, go have langar prasad. Sit with Sangat. And what are we doing? It's, if you read, Aarti, I'm sure you've read Ikigai and, the Japanese philosophy of how to be happy. It's a question which I'll ask you now. What does happiness mean to you?
Happiness
And
is
then
a state of
explain
mind.
how I understood it in Guruji's.
Yeah, happiness is, I think, just a state of mind. And it's got everything to do with your own attitude, how you view things. And it's something very, very personal. So, what makes me happy may be meaningless to my own children or somebody sitting next to me. So I think it's very personal. It's a state of mind.
So I read somewhere recently only, and it's a very interesting quote, that happiness is continuing to desire what you already have. It's very profound. So therefore the contentment, therefore no restlessness. It's the happiness of continually desiring what you already have. So therefore the gratitude. Right? So I already have this ability to draw, and I'm happy because I'm drawing as I'm, as I'm living my life, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. That's the freedom.
It's funny you're talking about happiness because my daughter sent this to me just a couple of days ago. She says an interesting definition of happiness I came across is happiness as a ratio of accomplishments to aspirations. So either increase the accomplishments or lower the aspirations. And then, another writer described it as a road to happiness lies in the satisfaction of one's desires.
Exactly. So very similar. Yes.
Very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this ever crosses your mind as well. That when we talk about acceptance, is it just a tool to self-soothe? And can that also be seen as an escapist's mindset?
No. Okay.
Adjust kar lo.
No. Acceptance to me, it depends on the situation now, right?
Yeah.
It's very largely depends on the situation. If the situation around you is unjust and you are asked to adjust to an unjust situation, then acceptance would be not to react. This is it. This is the way it is. I accept this is the way it is. That's what acceptance is. Narrowing it down to the situation, but I do not have to be party to it. Because...
But will it be seen as you walking away from the situation you were put in, or the contract you signed or you handed out?
The contract. Because not accepting a situation, as I said, it's very relative, because if we're talking about, let's be very transparent here, if you're talking about a marriage, you're not giving up a marriage in one day. You tried and tried until you've really been tried. And then, because the try is not leading to triumph, and you're saying that it's deteriorating, then you say, okay, I've accepted what was and what is, but I do not need to be party to it anymore, because the situation is unacceptable. Unacceptable in a moral sense, an ethical sense. It's either the marriage is abusive, it's not even a marriage, it's tyranny, it's dictatorship, it's just a one-way road. You're giving, and there's no capacity to take anymore. So it's a very personal thing. Like Guruji said, na barish honi hai, divorce bhi. Now, it's a very individual situation where we say, it doesn't mean you become intolerant by and large. Being tolerant is is an attribute.
Yeah.
But tolerant of what? And for how many years? Tolerant of abuse are we talking about? Tolerant of somebody mistreating you or misbehaving towards you? To a certain extent, if you cannot, kind of come to some sort of an agreement or a compromise, then it means you walk out. But tolerance in today's world has become too extreme. Usne mujhe ye bol diya, so I'm walking out. That is not also correct, because marriages need working on, needs adjustment, needs love, needs certain amount of compromise. So I think today's generation who are intolerant, not just of marriages, of each other, of their parents saying something. So that's why we need to work on our patience.
Yeah.
And broadening our view of what is right, what is wrong, what is acceptable. You just have to define your values.
Agreed. What has been your highest and the lowest moment with Sahib?
So the highest moment of my life was when he cured me of my skin cancer. And he calls me from the Sangat and he says, Addara. I said, Hanji Guruji. He said, Tu Shraddha mein paas ho gayi. So I was elated.
That's a compliment.
Yeah. Tu Shraddha mein paas ho gayi. But to be honest, with my British education, I didn't know who this Shraddha was. But paas ho gayi was very,
Thank God
very
you didn't ask for British Shraddha hai kaun?
I said, who's this Shraddha? So I said, thank you, Guruji. So he just laughed. He said, Kamli, tenu pata hi nahi main ki kiya. Tu pass ho gayi. I said, मैं गुरुजी पास हो गई यही बहुत है. And then he said, जा तेरा skin cancer ठीक किता. हूं तू bathroom दी पत्ती ना बंद किता कर bathroom जान तो पहले और आईने को ना डरे. तू बड़ा भटक के मेरे को लाई है. तू बहुत भटकी है. बड़े बाबास, gurus, पंडित, astrologer हो गई सी पिछले साल. I said, हाँ जी गुरुजी. And I was very sheepish about it because I knew it. He said, उन्हें की क्या से? So I said, Guruji, हाँ दस ना. Guruji, हाँ दस कि उन्हें क्या सी तेरी कोई लाइफ नहीं December 97. उन्हें सही क्या सी. Astrologer तुम्हारी पत्री पढ़ देने. मैं तुम्हारे लिख बदल देना. मैं तेनू नवी जिंदगी देती है. तू सचमुच पिछले साल तेरी लाइफ नहीं पिछले साल. मैं तेनू नवी जिंदगी देती है. आगे जाके समझ आएगी क्यों देती है. I was a tad disappointed when he said navi zindagi deti hai. Because to be completely honest, at that time my marriage had collapsed already, but I was already in it, but it had collapsed. It had caved in. My health was not, my energy levels, it was, I had immunity issues. So I was not full of energy and enthusiasm the way I am today. I was still trudging along. My feet were still being dragged on the path of life. So, but yeah, that was a high moment in the sense that, okay, Guruji, things are going to get better. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And if I have health, I have my wealth. It's like that,
And you have a life that's been gifted.
At least I'll have a life with clear skin or, at least no cancer. And at least it looks somewhat, attractive. As a woman, as I was, obviously I would be daunted by my reflections. So I was, I said, okay, at least I would be looking a little presentable and attractive. So, but besides that, the high point, the highest point I would say is indescribable and inexplicable. I was sitting with Guruji one day, just sitting here the way he used to make me sit. And I just broke down. Inconsolably, I was crying. But those tears were not of sadness. It was of euphoria. And then the Sangat who was sitting around said, Guruji, bahut ro rahi hai. Kehne, haan, kyunki enu Rab dikhata. It was a very profound statement. And I didn't know what he meant, but I just knew there was something extraordinary happening within me that I was not able to contain. And I was crying tears of joy. I was shedding tears of joy. That was so much cleansing, I feel, of some karmic baggage. I don't know. It's certain things are very opaque and we can't put words to them, but they are experiences which cannot be quantified in words. It's very simple. You just have to feel them. They're an emotion. And that I remember was somewhat an awakening, because for me, even though I was sick and I had a broken marriage, for me, it was still about the inside out. Always. When I met Guruji, it was still about the inside out. I was aware of my weaknesses, limitations, my flaws, my shortcomings. I was quite aware. So, but then coming to Guruji regularly and sitting with him, and remember, Aarti, back then we were actually encouraged to come 7 days a week.
Yep,
Initially, it was 7 days a week.
And we would love that.
And we would love that. And
Yes.
we would happily come to him 7 days.
Yes.
We were drawn to him. It was an energy that we were drawn to. We were like,
so true.
We were like moths to a flame. We were just flying towards him every evening.
Yes.
5 o'clock, get ready. 6 o'clock out of the house. 7 o'clock, be with him. It was a routine that was etched in stone, and the emotion was high. None of them defined Guruji. None of us defined Guruji as divinity or God. But we knew it's an extraordinary being sitting there who has our back. There's no doubt. We knew that. I mean, certain things he used to tell me, Aarti, कि आज ना कार जाके अपने जितने cobwebs are, he used another word in Punjabi, जितने जाल, I think he said. He said, जितने जाल नहीं साफ कर. So I became defensive. I said, मेरे घर में जाल नहीं है गुरुजी. He said, है बड़े जाल ने बाहर entrance पे. अच्छा नहीं होता है. When he used to say things like that, I used to go home and actually see the jal. Then I said, he's not an ordinary guru. We say Guruji, but he's not a guru. He's much beyond. He used to say things which nobody knew. I had a conversation with a social friend one day over lunch at my house. We were having lunch, and back then, if you remember, Aarti, we were over enthusiastic about speaking about Guruji to even non-believers. So anyone who came to my house, a friend, I would go on and on about Guruji, even if it fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
So that evening when I went to Guruji in the evening, he said, "Tu aaj meri badi galla kar rahe se. Tu aaj bada mera yaad kar rahe se." So I looked at him again, and these hints that he gave, that I know I'm omniscient, I'm omnipresent. So
many such occasions where he would just say things randomly, that hun oh so and so aayega, oh e paake aayega, e kapde, e color, and just to give us a glimpse of ki main sab janta hu.
Yes.
And hearing this also, at least I can speak for myself. Auntie, us time samajh nahi aayi thi that he's Mahashiv. Like, we saw him and we looked at him as a Siddh Guru, that's someone who knows a lot. But 25 years ago, I did not see him as, the sole creator of the universe, for example. Today, I have that perspective. Back then, to your point, it was just a feel-good place, and a place where we just wanted to be there all 7 days. Why? I myself don't know. But there was something that was like a pull, and you just sit.
There was a gravitational pull. And I think we were drawn to the love that we were receiving there. Now, in hindsight, when you kind of say, why is it that we were drawn every evening? I feel it was the love that we could never experience with anyone in the human form. And he said, कि जब तुसी बीमार होंदे हो या तुहानू कष्ट हुंदा है, कोई नाल नहीं खड़ा हुंदा सिवाय तुहाडे रब दे. And it is a fact that God, even today, when there's an issue, and we talk to Guruji telepathically or even verbally, while we're sitting in our living rooms alone, we're having this conversation, he proves to us that he's listening, because the next moment or the day after, maybe a Sangat will call or somebody will call to help you, to give you that helping hand. So I just feel Guruji is, like he said, Mekadrini Jare. He's got nowhere. Literally, his light, his energy, it's all around us and within us. He's a primordial Guru that came to awaken the Guru within us, the divinity within us. So he rests in our heart, in the seat of our heart. Therefore, he can hear our every thought. He can see our every word and action. He can hear our every word and he can see our action. So he's totally there. It's unmistakably true that he's there for each one of us. Each one of it. And that's the beauty, that he connects to every soul, and every soul is a part of him. We're all divine beings, but we just don't know it. We're having this human experience, which is, sometimes very trying, but in the end, it's all triumphant. For me, like every I will say, every trial has led to triumph. Every worry has led to some kind of wisdom, and you have to give yourself time to reflect on everything that happens to your life. No mistakes. Everything is exactly the way it's meant to be. And there's a beautiful learning in everything. As long as we're evolving from it and we are growing from it, Guruji is very happy with this. Because if we keep making the same mistakes over and over, then we're just going around in circles. So Guruji wants his children to grow because he's a parent. He wants the best for us. He doesn't test us. When people say he tested, वो हमारे test है, वो हमारे कर्मों के test. But Guruji, why would a parent? Are you going to test your child? How much the child has learned so far in your upbringing? Them? No. It's the test of our own karmas that we've created or generated in some lifetime. It's us. We're the doers. We are the co-captains of our destiny.
Yeah.
Guruji only loves us. And therefore we must only love him back. That is, there's no test from him. There's no test. Test comes from our own lives. From doing or undoing or not doing. You understand? It's like certain things which I may have not repaired about myself. Guruji is not retributive. He's reformative. Guruji is not retributive. This is something we must all realize and imbibe in our lives. He's restorative. He's reformative. He'll reform our lives. He'll give us the best to make it better. Excuse me. Is it time for a little chai prashad? Just
yeah. How much time do you have, Auntie?
I have. Where are we? What time are we on?
It's 8:58 Eastern time.
Lovely.
Yeah. So just one question that came to my mind when you were just describing. Everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. What accountability should we take in these situations we are in? If we palm it off to, yep, this is how it was supposed to happen, and so it happened, where is our accountability for our actions in this?
So if we believe that everything is happening in his hukam, right? So therefore we say everything is the way it's meant to be because it's his hukam, right? So that's one. Now, this is where the question of surrender and complacency comes, right? So we surrender to the situation. I surrender to my skill. I'm giving you very tangible, real life, practical experiences of mine. This is not bookish. This is every day. I go through some health struggle, right? I have autoimmune disease. I have skin disease, and the skin erupts because of the autoimmune, right? Now, when that happens, when I say, that's the acceptance. Okay, this is it. I'm not going to react further by getting angry with myself. I'm going to accept it calmly. Now, the accountability is, Paat karo, Shipran paro, jo Guruji ne bola. See, you do your best, let him do the rest. You do your best in that moment. In that moment, I'm bleeding, I'm scratching, I'm making myself flare up more. But if I don't react to it and I say, okay, calm down, center yourself, calm yourself, Anita, and drink the holy water, which is, mantra jap karungi, jal pe piyungi. So I will drink that and I will calm myself down. I will do things which I'm meant to do. So that's my accountability. As in, avoid certain foods. Okay, Guruji ne us time, jab skin cancer da bola, to non-veg chhad de. I was aghast. I said, Guruji, I'm literally grown up in England having chicken, tandoori chicken. I learned how to make at the age of 7. You know what I mean? So it was very much part of our diet. It wasn't. So when he said that, I just looked at him aghast and he said, "Thodi der was there." How compassionate of him that. But then I actually became a vegetarian for many years. And then I, 2-3 months ago, was in Dubai and I was feeling very weak and I was feeling very tired all the time. I didn't know that vitamin D was low. This is another lesson for all of us. We must get our tests done regularly.
Yeah.
So when I had the blood test done, it came vitamin D low, iron low, this, that. So I realized, I said, okay, now I want to eat chicken. I was craving for it, longing. I went overboard. Then I went to Japan, ate nothing but chicken. There was a limitation also in vegetarian.
Right.
Now, when I came back and I said, okay, Guruji had said this to me that quit chicken because it's generating heat. And if you have a skin issue, maybe it's aggravating it. So, of course, reasoning with everything that you're going through, rationalizing, understanding it, that is not complacency. You are doing your best. Do you understand? Now I quit chicken in the last 1 week. I only got back from Japan a week ago. I said, okay, I'm going to clean up my diet, have the aloe vera juice, quit chicken, have more water in my diet, much more water. Don't drink coffee, it aggravates. So all the allergens eliminated, all the good things which nourish the skin, been added. And along with really stepping up on my faith. So there's no complacency, it's a lot of hard work. There's no acceptance in a complacent manner. There's acceptance in a proactive manner. Does that make sense? As I'm speaking to you,
you're doing the best you can.
You do the best.
Situation, yeah.
You're proactive. You're not complacent. Complacency is, okay, hai to hai, kya karu? Carry on doing what you're doing. If we don't change, then nothing changes.
Yes, yes.
But if we change our ways, then everything changes. We're all creatures of habit. In a way, we're all complacent. Jaise chal raha, sab chalta hai. Delhi has that attitude and mindset. Sab chalta hai. No, sab nahi chalta. Sab ruk jata hai.
And change is hard. Change is hard.
Change is good.
We're all resistant to change.
Change is good. Change of attitude.
Change is the only constant. Yeah, yes. I agree. Yeah. Auntie, any other words from Sahib that echo in your mind?
Always.
That not shared and, something more intimate.
See, in my day-to-day conduct, I'm very mindful of Guruji's teachings. And when I say that, Aarti, I mean it in a very practical sense again. When I speak to my housekeeper, compassion, showing compassion, going that extra mile to do things for them. He said, "Changa nahi kar sakte, mara bhi na karo, but changa karo."
Right.
Changa fir bhi karo. Doesn't matter how the world is slanting. You may think the people around you are slanting towards being conniving, being unfair, being unjust. And then you say, why should I be so nice when the world is not so nice, or the people around me are playing games, playing politics? We have a choice and free will to walk away from any negativity. So Guruji has taught me in a very practical sense, be wise and know what kind of vibration others are at. Because your vibe attracts your tribe, right? You have a choice to walk away.
Yeah.
He's shown me ki jaisi sangat vaisi rangat. Be mindful of your company. Be mindful of the people you associate yourselves with. Mindful of your conduct, your dignity. Never lose that. Never compromise on that. I feel Guruji has really taught me to be the woman that, and still work in progress, that I aspire to be. And he's like this divine sculptor, and he's chipping away all the bits that are not required, and he's sculpting into each one of us into his masterpiece.
I agree.
All of us. But we need to be, the key word here is awareness. Live with heightened self-awareness. Know what we're thinking, know what we are saying, and be mindful of what we're doing. It just makes life much simpler. And set your own standards. I can say one thing, like Guruji say, nazar lag diya, right? Social media. Social media pe zyada nahi ho. Nazar lag diya lokka di, nazar kar lo bachcho. I really feel that it pays to be low profile, because we are not comparing ourselves to others' lives. We are living by our own standards. We're raising the bar only for us, if we're raising it at all. And when we raise the bar, we raise it to be a better person. Not, I don't mean materially. I mean, again, so we can be a shining example, Aarti, to other Sangat. Ye Guruji ki Sangat hai. When they see us, this is what they say, कि ये Guruji ki Sangat. Because Sangat to bahut hai. But Sangat hai ki bheed hai. Is it a herd mentality? Is it a herd mentality? That Aarti is going, I must go, let's see what is happening. Even celebrities are going today. So what's going on there? Is it a herd mentality, or is it a mentality where you want to be the most excellent version of yourself? You really want to shine your light before we finally, with His grace, merge into the light, And I feel that we aspire to be the beacon of light. So for that, Guruji has given me the wisdom, the teachings, and also the wisdom to implement it slowly but surely. I'm flawed. I am not a flawless human. I have my imperfections. But I'm work in progress. I have the awareness. Oh, Anita, you did this again. Yes. That's so learn from your mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. And we're so glad that you're actually sharing those pearls of wisdom with all of us here. And sometimes that reinforcement, that little nudge, that reminder goes a long way in just transforming somebody's core. And certain things just hit home. And that's why I think with Sahib's Agya, we're even having this conversation. Auntie, we have so many more topics to cover. So I'm wondering if you would be willing to come for the episode 4 also, and we'll coordinate on the days and times. But we would love to continue this conversation with you and probably go deeper into some of the more specific topics.
Sure.
Would you be able to do that?
It's such a pleasure having this conversation with you, Aarti, really. Because I know you're also somebody who's very involved, and you're, really are truly Guruji's child.
We all are. And he's our life. And to your point, we love him unconditionally.
Absolutely.
With our flaws.
We found our true love. And a parent doesn't judge their children with their flaws.
Yes.
The parent is happy that the child is trying.
Oh, yes. And we will keep trying till our last breath and beyond.
Absolutely.
Guruji, just keep us in your fold. Koi galti ho jaye, Guruji, to hum sabko क्षमा करें. But with that, Sahib se hum आज्ञा लेते हैं, Auntie. फिर से हाजिर होंगे with the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namah Shivaya, Siddhi Sada Sahai. Om Namah Shivaya, Guruji Sada Sahai. Jai Guruji.
God bless you, Aarti.